Hello, this is Dr. Sage Breslin, and we are breaking through. Today, we are breaking through with Michael Padurano, and he is going to help us understand what helped him move from one stage of his life to the other. And actually, it may be move through many stages of his life. So we are looking forward to hearing from him today. And each week, we will be trying to bring a new show with lots of folks who have had their own breakthroughs, and we can learn from the best.
Hey,
Hello, Michael.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to have you joining us on the show today.
I'm happy to be here, and I guess we could start by talking about overcoming technical issues, right? Like, I mean, that's the beginning of breakthroughs, right? It is how do we do a live streaming show without technology? Um,
Yes.
and it's okay. It all works out exactly as it's meant to be. So,
Absolutely. So resistance is really an interesting thing. And I've talked a lot publicly about how I really enjoy control. Really, it's my happy place. And I have found that I get to experience divine 2x4 therapy when I hold on tight. When I hold on tight to that control and I don't let God take the wheel. It's a painful learning experience. So I have learned to release to the extent that I can and just appreciate that it does, as you said, work out however it's going to work out. And you're right, it is the beginning of breakthrough. First you connect, then you have to let go.
it really is something, isn't it? Control. That's a funny one. I don't think we realize how much we control, right? And it's
Oh, yeah.
mostly ourselves, and it's really ourselves. It's this adversity to pain, right?
Yes,
Like we want to
absolutely.
protect ourselves from future pain based on our past experiences.
Right.
So and it's ridiculous. So as Annie Leib and I have co-created this program, and we've been helping and guiding people, and what we realized about a month ago is how many things we control, because part of it is allowing, right? Going through the process of allowing, which is this masterful skill that I'm still learning on a daily basis. Um, and it's like the last 2 weeks, I've been trying to control my pain. I've been trying to control my narratives, right? Because I create these narratives based on past experiences and triggers and past trauma that I've been working through and healing. Um, and we are our own worst enemy. We put
Yeah.
ourselves into this box of, how can I keep myself safe, which then that doesn't allow us to grow or evolve at all.
Right.
And it
If
puts
you put yourself in the box, right, then you can't actually, right,
it,
expand and reconfigure. And I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to change clothes in an ultra small bathroom or, towel off in one of those teeny tiny little showers, and you keep like banging and hitting yourself, and the whole thing becomes, insane. And that's what it is when we're trying to retain, as you said, all those narratives, all of those ideas about how things should be. My least favorite word, I think, probably should and stupid. If I could just take those out of the language, I would be better. So learning just to allow, you're right, it's brilliant. And for me, after allow comes receive. And I'm still working on that. My current divine 2x4 therapy is all focused on, receiving and accepting, and that's part of relinquishing control as well. So uh, it's interesting. So I'm going to keep on smiling and laughing about how many times I will try to assert control and how many times the divine just says, "You're not in charge."
well, it's like I wrote about this morning, right? I mean, I don't post on LinkedIn that very much anymore, right? Because I'm busy with everything that I'm building and working on, and I was in this unforeseen rut like over the last few weeks, and I was really allowing my fears to control me and consume me. And it came to the point where Saturday I was 15 years sober, and
Wow,
I was
congratulations.
thinking about drinking, right? Like I literally thought about drinking. because the neighbor came over and had a drink and was like, "Do you want one?" And I actually hesitated,
Wow.
and it made me think. It's like that was the wake up call of what am I trying to numb, right? Like what am
Yeah.
I trying to hide from, and what am I? Because I don't mentally want to drink at this point. I know what the
Right.
repercussions are, right? I
Right.
know if I have a drink today, I'll have 72 tomorrow. I'll be doing lines of coke in a week, and I'll be, I'll find any drug near me to go destroy my life, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's just the way I work, and I'll probably have a heart attack because I don't have the same tolerance I did 15 years ago. Um, so it's like it's such a game with ourselves in so many ways because it's the mental level, the emotional level, and then the spiritual level.
Yeah.
And
You
how
and
do
I were
we?
talking about how deeply complex and rich you are as a light worker in your human, and you and I have that in common, that we've had so much trauma, so much experience that I, for me, it gets to be the overwhelm of managing or juggling all the balls. I think other folks that I've met, talk a lot about imposter syndrome. And so what sneaks in is like, can I really be that guy? Can I really do all that? Can I really show up and be that amazing? Or can I have all this? I think for me, it is always fighting the number of things I'm engaged in. And I have colleagues all the time who will say, well, just simplify, just do one thing. And like, it doesn't, my head starts to spin around, like,
Right.
what are you talking about? Do one thing. But that's what it means when you come in as a global messenger. It's like, one thing? No, that's not how this works.
No, and again, right? Like I always say that the best gift that God gave me was my ADHD because I've learned it to use it as a gift, right?
Yeah.
And I've learned to be able to use it to balance all the things I'm doing.
Yeah.
But what
Yeah.
happens is when I hit a place that I'm hiding something from myself or burying something from myself or not being fully transparent with myself, right? Like this is beyond the outside reflection of what we show the world. This is to ourselves
Yes.
because that's what matters first and foremost is being accountable to ourselves. And like all these things start piling up on me and I start losing track and my ADHD gets out of control and I get tired. I feel spiritual pain. I feel physical pain. The
Yeah.
mental migraines come back and I'm sitting here and I'm looking and I'm like, what am I scared of? Like what fear has kicked in recently that, you know, that's controlling everything about me right now. And it always goes back to fear of some sort.
Hmm.
Always. Whether it's on the human, whether it's on the spiritual, whether it's on the emotional. And I have no open bottles of water next to me, so now I'm gonna have to open them. But like it's
Here's
always
water.
one of yes, it's always on one of the levels, and then it's identifying which one it is, which is a tremendous amount of self-awareness.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I've learned from you is that unlike other entrepreneurs, you're looking beyond, mental, emotional, physical. You look into spiritual and energetic. You look
Mhm.
to see, are there other forces here that are weighing in and disturbing my reality? And that's something that, you and I have shared, and I really appreciate, another person speaking to that sometimes we get in the spin and it's things that we're hiding from ourselves. And sometimes the spin comes from outside energies just weighing in and distorting our perception of what's happening and what we're managing. And, that self-doubt comes in, maybe not of its own accord.
And and again, right, like what I realized is that self-doubt, the lack of worth, so what happens for me, right? And that's all I can speak of is what happens for me. And what I've noticed and become self-aware of is my what so it starts with a fear. From fear, it starts hurting my worth. My worth starts going to self-doubt. And then I'm grasping on the things to hold on to try and keep myself where I'm at, rather
Hmm.
than identifying what the issue is and working through it, right? And
Yeah.
keep in mind, I'm a coach and I work with people now around the world, and I'm building this enormous business with Annie, and things are going great. But that doesn't mean that we don't need to keep ourselves in check, right? Like there's a lot going on in life today. There's a lot going on in life in general. And when you're multifaceted entities, which is, I don't know how else to word ourselves, or label ourselves, but when we are, right, when we're beings on multiple levels, then it makes it even more complicated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have my divine purpose, I have my soul's purpose, I have my human purpose, and then I have my human needs that I need to get covered, and all these things, and that's where the fears start coming in, right? Like, if I mess up, this is going to happen. If I do this, I'm going to lose this. If I make this mistake, So when it really came down to that drink and hesitation. I wasn't going to say yes, right? Because at this stage of my life, I'm not going to say yes. I'm fighting for my kids for 16 months. I'm stranded in the middle of nowhere. There's no way that I would do that at this point of the game. Like, I've done way too much at this point. Even if it's only for that reason, there wouldn't be a yes. But the hesitation was really key. And the fact that I didn't tell anybody, right? Because I'm isolated. So, then I became ashamed, and then I started blaming and shaming myself. And it turned into this enormous mess within me. And thanks to Brene Brown, and going through those books and doing that work and understanding myself, it took Annie calling me out of my shit because I didn't see it for myself. I just
Yeah.
didn't see it for myself. And
When you had that experience, I'm just curious, like what was your physical reaction to the hesitation? Where did you notice it in your body?
the hesitation, okay, so when I was asked, I immediately got nauseous
Mm,
because it's just not what I want in my body anymore, right?
yeah.
So, and I'm doing better at eating, and I'm cutting out fast foods, and I'm trying not to put as much processed crap in. Like, I'm really doing better about, trying what I input into my body and drinking a ton more water to wash out what I fail at being good at putting in my body. But when I hesitated, it was like this shooting migraine.
Mm,
What is wrong with you that you're hesitating, right?
mm,
And then what happened was that was Saturday, and then Sunday I started getting a little bit more in my head. Monday I was a little bit more in my emotions. Tuesday I was more in my emotions. And then yesterday I kind of hit this point where I knew there was something. I couldn't figure out what it was. And Annie and I worked with the client yesterday, and by the end of the client call, I knew exactly what it was.
mm.
Like, it clicked. And then I woke up this morning, and I was still in a position of, like a little cloudiness and a little stuck, and I couldn't write this morning. Nothing was flowing out of me like it normally does when I channel. Like, I felt very blocked from myself and disconnected from self. Um, and again, everything starts with self, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and so often when we get into that space where we have like a cataclysmic event that we are then having to process on so many levels, that's when we tend to like pull in and hang on. It's that self-protective, effort to try to keep everything, as comfortable as possible. I don't use that word very often, but as manageable as possible. But I mean, when you're doing channeled writing, it's got to flow. And if you're hanging on tight, there's, that's like putting a door in place and saying, "Oh, sorry, I know that you want to write and it's on one side of the door, but got the door closed. So there's nothing I can do for you until you let go and allow yourself." This goes back to your word, allow the process, allow the recuperation. And, I think so often we forget that there is a period of recuperation when we've had one of those episodes.
yeah, and keep in mind, right? This one time, this is what it was, right? And other times it's been different things, right? And because I have such a wide variety of addictions in my past, there's so many to choose from. Like, I mean, there's everything. There's work, porn, gambling. Like, I mean, watching sports. I got addicted to numbing myself by being a super fan, right? Like, and people don't realize that's what they're doing. But all these different escapisms, all they did was take me away from myself.
Yeah.
and building businesses to an extreme and doing all these other things that I was doing was all just escapisms.
Hmm.
And at some point, I needed to rein myself in and really take that deep look at myself. And over this last year, it's been this crazy journey of just, every time you think you're at a level, it's like the universe comes along and says, "Ha, yeah, you're okay, sure. Thump. Here's another one." And
Next.
yeah, but what I realized is, and we talk about it all the time, is it's not that everything gets easier, right? Because there's always going to be challenges, circumstances, situations outside of our control. But what happens is your process speed gets faster.
Hmm.
So, like this time it took me an hour to process it this morning after 3 weeks of, whatever, right? Like teetering
Hmm.
or starting to suppress, I would say. I didn't really get off my sanity train until probably the last few days. But um, and even in that though, there's still moments, right, to fool ourselves. We still have those clear moments where we're channeling and everything's great and oh, I'm doing great. This is perfect. The world is great. There's nothing wrong. And it's just how our subconscious plays with us and plays games with us and wants us to go into old patterns, routines, and habits and behaviors, tries to bring us back to what our norm is, which unfortunately for most of humanity, that's pretty miserable. It's
Okay, well, I'm
yeah,
reaching higher than that.
well, I mean, if we look at the cultural stigmas, if we look at generational hand downs, if we look at what humanity has become, the education system rips out our curiosity. There's just so many things working against us when we wake up, when we are born awake and aware. And then it's like being raised and growing up just tears that away from us.
Well, I hope
So,
that, as we gain consciousness, as we open up these doors to remembering, and I think of that word as remembering, like if you came with all your parts, into the world, all your parts were like in separate packages, right? And your parents got you and, plugged in like a doll, right? Plugged in this arm, plugged in that arm. That's how I see our reconfiguration, that we have to remember. We have to take ownership of the things we've cast aside as we've been in the legacy of the planet, which is sort of the Toltec lore, that we get so inundated by being told by our parents and our communities and our cultures and our societies how we're supposed to be, that we forget who we are. And then we
right.
have to go through this dismantling process in order to reconfigure and bring through, reality as we know it, our truth. And, I guess in large part that is the breakthrough work that I do with folks and that you do with folks, that
Yeah.
it is really casting off all of these masks and all of this armor and, all of these narratives and stories and ideas, which many people don't do. It's terrifying to cast away what you know in lieu of what you don't know.
Yeah.
I would say most of us who keep ourselves stuck, we do that because of that fear of the unknown. What if what I discover is dot, dot, dot?
Right.
For me, that's never been an issue. I felt like it was fairly easy to remember myself and to live in my truth. I certainly had people try to break me over and over and over again, and
Yeah.
energies try to break me. And there were dark nights of the soul. And, as I've gone through this process myself, what I learn more and more is that vulnerability, that authenticity, and my number one thing is connection. If I disconnect at all, it's not good. you know, I quickly walk into trouble.
It,
So I'm curious for you, when you think about the things that helped you break through into new waves or stages of your life, do you have that awareness of what things had to sort of get going in order for you to break through? Like
So
this
there's
time
two,
you it was very mindful. You were aware,
right,
there was some physical, then there was mental and emotional that came through, and then your work with somebody else, which is so often happens for us.
right.
We get a mirror and then we're like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then we
like what am I
can
doing
move
to myself?
through. Yes, exactly, but I'm curious.
Okay, so the old me would have said stubbornness, right? I'm just too stubborn to give up, right? Like that would have been that answer. I'm resilient beyond belief. But the reality is, I have this unique ability, this unique gift, and it really is a gift to be able to create a sliver of hope. And from that sliver of hope, I'm able to grab onto it and create. It is my best creation period, my best creation magic. Like when I am in that space, if I am grasping onto that hope, I can create anything. There is no stopping me. I can get out of any circumstance or situation. And I mean, we've talked about it. I've been through a ton, like a ton, right? Like a million or three times homeless, five times. I've been fighting for my kids for 16 months in the middle of nowhere by myself, isolated beyond belief. No family, no friends, no anything out here, right? Like I've been by myself with three abused kids. I mean, you can go back to getting sober. You can go back to all my near-death experiences, the abuse I went through as a child. I mean, we can list anything you want, right? And what I've always been able to do is find one thing of hope to grab onto. Now, granted, when I was a kid, right, I started drinking at 9, doing drugs at 12, hardcore drugs. Sorry, let me restate, because alcohol is a drug. But I missed a good one, which was caffeine, until a little bit later. But like I think it was all numbing at that point, right? Like I was able to get out of circumstances, but looking back, I was in such a numb state. I'm not exactly sure what I grabbed onto at those moments. So if you fast forward to when I got sober 15 years ago, and everything I've been through since, which is still an ungodly amount of stuff, um, like yeah, I mean it's the unique gift to be able to create hope. And once I have that sliver of hope, no matter what it is, I go into this creation mode where nothing is impossible. My manifestations through the roof, my energy's flying, I am clear as can be, and I am just in my happy space.
Mm.
And it doesn't even have to be something tangible. It just doesn't. I can create hope from almost anything. What I'm learning to do through this process is have hope within myself, for myself, so that I
Mhm.
can stay in that space. And it's not easy for me to do yet. But as I continue to build my self worth, and as I continue to work on myself and do the work and release the trauma and heal through the triggers, it's getting a little bit easier, right? Once I'm able to find self again. Because again, the subconscious kicks in and tries to knock us around quite often.
Yeah. It's an amazing gift, as you said, to identify hope when it feels as if hope is lost. Uh, I think it might even have been Tupac who talked about the rose that grows through the concrete.
Mm,
And I think of that the same way. It's not just resilience because it's not just this thorny thing coming up. It's beautiful and fragrant and it brings us such joy as well. And so it reminds me much more of hope. I think, back to many of the near death and the single after death experiences that I've had. And when I think about the very first time, I crossed over into that tween space and I met my version of God. And if I had not had the conversation and been able to hear what I heard in that moment, I was clinically dead for 22 minutes. There's nothing. There's no reason that I would have reconstituted and survived. Like there's just nothing. And what it was purely that, God said to me, I will never leave you. Never. And I've certainly, you and I have had some, wicked ass conversations about crazy energetic disturbances that we've both experienced. And even in those experiences, I think that is the first thing I bond to is that divine hope, that awareness that I as long as I don't disconnect, I'm good. It's all good. But there are days when it's difficult, and I can feel that sort of thinning of the connection, and I have to sort of bring myself in and do the work again to remind myself that no, you know back to square one, back to the center, please, back to your reality, back to your truth. And it's yeah, I've had enough divine 2x4 therapy to know when I'm getting outside myself, when there's something more I need to come in and assist me from beyond.
It's I don't know why I have this ability, and I don't know why I have this gift, right? I mean, I know I have many of my gifts. This one I'm not sure for. But when it comes to, like, I mean, I was just thinking, right, as you were talking, going back through some of the darkest moments of my life. I mean, I had a business partner steal $7.5 million. My wife was 36 weeks pregnant with our first child. We were literally couch surfing. And next thing you know, while couch surfing, I created my next company, which I ended up having offices in 17 countries,
Wow.
doing government contracts with over 30 governments, working with the UNDP for 5 years. Like, I mean, and it was out of nowhere. Like, I can look back, and when things seem at their lowest, I've been able to create hope. And as I've spoken about many times, this time is a little bit different for me because I wasn't able to create hope during the beginning of this circumstance. I went into such a deep depression, and it was Annie Leib reaching out to me that created that spark of hope. And then since then, we've created this enormous bond, this relationship, friendship, whatever, like we're the closest two people in the world to each other. And it's like we're creating this business, and this business is paralleling our journeys of
Mm.
how we got from there 16 months ago to where we are today, and this miraculous turnaround, right? Like, compared to where we were to where we are, like, it's not even feasible.
Apparently it
It,
is.
it is, but it's not on our own, that's for
Yeah.
sure. I
Yeah.
mean, this
Oh,
is divine
yes.
intervention. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no way I could have done this any other way.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what you and Annie are creating, and what you're bringing through for the world.
So, okay, so we created something that we named the breath framework, because breath is very important to her. When she was going through her divorce in 2015, and she actually signed the papers, she remembers the date. I don't remember what the exact date was. I think it was December 11th, 2015, because I'm crazy like that. So when that happened, she was sitting in a diner signing the paper, saw an Edgar Allan Poe post, or Poe, oh my God, poem. And can't speak, post, right? He went on Facebook. But when she read the poem, and it said something about breath, and what she realized was, at that moment, is you could take every single thing away from her, but you can never take her last breath. It's
Mm.
hers. So she wrote it on a
Interesting.
napkin and got it tattooed on her hip. Now she tells this story all the time. And then, so when we started trying to come up with a acronym for this, the only one that made sense was breath.
Mm.
So it's B for begin where we are, R for reclaim your power, which doesn't mean taking it from anyone else. It means reclaiming your power that you give away all day long. Um, E for excavate your core values, because truth of the matter is, most of our core values that we believe are ours are imposed upon us.
Yeah.
We don't know what really is ours, so it's really a deep excavation. A for allow, not control, because again, right, that magical allowance that we need to find, which is not easy no matter where we're at in life.
Yeah.
Then we have T for through, not around, and then H for healing. And we do one-on-one coaching, group coaching. We're doing corporate now, and we're taking It's a 6-month program, and we take people through this process because we believe that this is a framework that we live by daily. Each day as things come up in our life, we go through this. Now, sometimes things slip through and we bury them, but that's okay.
Mm. Yeah.
But we're
It's
able to get out.
interesting, what you're saying. It's just so right on. I think, that phrase, like great minds think alike, those of us who are doing this work are doing variations on a theme or with certain populations. And um, we may call it different things. Our pillars may be different, but our intention, I think, is the same. And one of the things that came through for me in a meditation about 6 months ago was just being open to do that work on myself. So, one of the things I love to do are VIP days with my clients. And, I will try to develop a VIP day that's very specific to my client's goal. And one morning I woke up and I was just a bit sideways. I wasn't supposed to be anywhere else that day. I didn't have clients. And I was listening during my prayer and meditation, and I heard this: go do your program on you.
Right.
And I have now made this practice of when I get a little sideways, I go out, I give myself a VIP day, and it is amazing to me how much comes through during the course of just reorienting and allowing, all of that great clarity and connection and reconfiguration over and over and over again. So I love that you've come up with pillars and an acronym to sort of guide that work. And it's the work that you've done on yourselves. It's the work that you're going to continue every single day to do on yourselves. And so it makes it so easy to go ahead and work with clients using those same pillars and continuing to sort of clean the vessel.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's all about getting people to their soul center, right? And
Mhm.
we describe that as living within our core values every day, right? So, our core values and our soul will not guide us wrong, right? So when we work towards that and we do the work on ourselves, like you said, replicating it and being there and showing others and guiding them through the process. Like, I don't like coaching. I like guiding, right? Like, to me, coaching is throw a basketball, make it in the hoop, whatever, right? Like, Michael Jordan, best basketball player ever, had Phil Jackson, right? So, whatever you want to look about it, everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs somebody in their life to hold them accountable and accountability partners and all that fun stuff. But by the best part about teaching it to others is because it's the work I do on myself daily, it also helps me continue to heal as well while helping them, right?
Absolutely. As you said, perhaps the last little part of that epiphany wouldn't have happened unless you were focusing with a client and it allowed that door just open all the way so that you're like, oh, okay, there it is.
Well, and honestly, having, an accountability partner, having Annie as my accountability partner, call me on my shit was nice too, right? Because
Absolutely.
because we all need that, right? Like,
Yes.
we need that, and we need to have that trust with someone in our life that knows us better than anyone, that can really call us on our crap, right?
Mhm.
And what we do is so intuitive in nature, and it's not, yes, we have a framework, yes, we have this outline, these pages of outlines, and we can walk through people through this. We can hand them a book if they want, but it's not the same because what we bring to the table is us and who
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah.
And it's our intuitive nature that allows us to help them navigate based on our experiences and what we've been through. And
Yeah.
it's the same for what you do, right? It's the same concept. It's being able to leverage your experience from this life, from other lives, from whatever lives, and being able to leverage that to help others where they are at today.
Yeah.
So it's
We
just
always say that, relationship trauma can't be healed outside of relationship. And
yeah,
relationship can be with a mentor or a guide or a coach or a loved one or whatever, but
puppy.
you can't resolve attachment issues without attachment. There has to be some kind of a held space.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that the way that society looks today, I'm pretty sure that the population itself has an attachment issue. If it's nothing else,
Probably.
if nothing else, it's being a sheeple and just listening to what everybody says, right?
Yeah.
And not thinking for ourselves enough. Um, but again, I mean, this is a beautiful. I love this platform, and I love what you're doing, and I love you and everything you're doing. And so I'm always here to support you any way I possibly can.
Oh, I just, your words are just like the best medicine ever, all the
Yeah.
time for me. And one of the things that is always amazing is that if I am in a loop or I notice that I'm spinning a little bit, I, get on and I try to get onto LinkedIn and just kind of review once a day or twice a day. And I'll always see a message from you,
Yeah.
whether it's on that platform or just by text. And it always sort of just brings me back to my core again.
And that's what it is, right? It's the synchronicities of the universe that
Yeah.
and there's been many Wednesdays that you've been doing that
My Wisdom Wednesdays.
your Wisdom Wednesdays, right? And I look for those messages on Wednesdays. Yesterday I didn't because I didn't want to hear anybody's wisdom, but that's okay. I just
That's fine.
right, I hit that space. You hit that space, you don't want to listen to anything,
Yeah.
and that's you've got to be self-aware enough to know that when you hit that space, you've got to figure out what's wrong because if not, then you're gonna just keep getting worse, right? So
Yeah. When I was training to do wise women's circles, um, I remember that Tanya Lynn, at the time Peluso, which I think she's Kozlowski now, but she said, you know, the time that you really don't want to go to circle, when you are dead set on not getting out of your pajamas, not leaving your house, not getting in your car, is the day you have to go to
yeah,
circle.
yeah.
Like I remember there's only one day that I can name that I was just done. I had a migraine. I was not going anywhere. My life was in a flat spin. And I remember that I must have said it publicly enough, like on Voxer to our little group. And here,
Hmm.
one of the Circle sisters shows up in her car and she's like, yeah, get in. And I was like, no, I'm not coming today. And she's like, get in. She's a
I'm gonna
six
yeah,
foot tall
yep.
African American woman. I was like, okay.
I'm
And
gonna drag you kicking and screaming.
and you know what? It was the very best thing I ever could have done because when
Yeah.
I got into the embrace and the space of that circle, I had 10 women who were right there to hold space for all of the, trauma and drama that needed to flow out. And by the time I was finished, I didn't have a migraine anymore. And I felt empowered to be in my truth. I had been so disconnected and so mired up in circumstance. And so, that is really how I live my life every day is, where do I connect? Who am I connecting with? And, how am I feeling about me, you know?
Having a safe space is so important. First we have to have a safe space for ourselves, right? Before we can
Yeah.
let anybody in. And then once we have that, allowing others to be a part of it is so crucial to any healing process.
Yeah. This has
And
been part of my journey. This is the reason for my divine 2x4 therapy at this point in my life.
that,
And whew, having to step into that level of vulnerability and authenticity, the thing I least want to do when I don't feel good or when I feel just mired up. And yet it is the absolute best medicine. It is the absolute core for, what I need in my life.
it is. And again, right, like to reiterate, it doesn't matter what level we think we're at. Because remember, it's what we think we're at, right? I mean, there is no like the universe, God, whatever you believe in, is not sitting there with a checklist saying, "Ooh, look at them, they're at 87." It's
Right.
not like I promise you. Um,
Yeah.
you know, we have to also remain so tied to our humility, right? But also have an equal balance with ego because it needs to be this balance. You
True.
go too far into ego, you go diabolical maniac, and you
Yeah.
too far into humility, you go into martyrism, right? And
Right.
you're sacrificing yourself on every level. And we've got to find balance, which is not the easiest thing to do in this world,
Yeah.
uh, especially when we're multi-layered entities, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is, and as the world's waking up and as people are waking up and don't know where they're going, then, hopefully they're seeking out those that can show them how to get there.
Yeah. I've always said, there's nothing particularly special about me. I just have a great big flashlight.
There you go. Yeah. And you know
I
what?
may
I'm
be
just a really,
unique,
right.
but it's really that I just have a great big flashlight.
And I always just say I'm just a great mirror, right?
Yeah.
A two-sided mirror, because I definitely hear everything I need to hear also.
Yeah,
Um, but
absolutely.
I'm a mirror based on my experience, right?
Yeah.
And how I can give insight, and my intuitive nature around it can help others to avoid some of the things that I've decided to put myself through.
Yeah.
Because, I have a choice and I haven't always used it right. So
Yeah. I think we've both been in the same position with quite a few of our other colleagues that we work with. So,
pretty much.
well, I'm just overjoyed that you and Annie are bringing this fabulous paradigm to the world, and that, the relationship has been so therapeutic for both of you. And I can't wait to hear, see, and experience more, and to hear more and more about what you guys are up to, and kind of where this journey takes you. I'm just excited.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time, and I appreciate that. And I obviously am always sending you light and love for everything you're going through, and I understand, and I'm here. I'm always here.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, and you know, shining some light on how you've approached these breakthroughs in your life, and how you have grasped the hope that you have.
Yes.
And that's going to be one that I remember easily, as it was the name of my daughter who passed. And it's on my coffee mug every single day when I wake up. And it's going to be with me even more now, because it's going to remind me of you as well.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, and thank you for having me as your first guest. That's
Yeah, so
that's
fun.
so special. It is.
Yeah,
So
well, I am looking forward to learning from so many people. Kind of was smiling to myself as you were talking about that balance between ego and humility. And, I had made a list and I thought, gosh, I don't think that person's going to say yes. Like, oh my God, who am I to think they're going to say yes? And then it wasn't just yes after yes after yes. It was these beautiful reasons why yes. And it was just this incredibly heartwarming experience to know how many people value the experience of coming on and just sharing some time and space, and sharing their thoughts and their journey in the world, and sharing their breakthroughs. So
yeah,
thank you.
and what's funny is, right, like when we were redoing Annie's show, we had 30 guests written down, right, because we're going through breath, 5 times. You're one of them, right?
Right?
And I had 31 written down, and we needed 30. I did not have to expand outside of 31 to fill all 30 slots.
Wow.
There was only one
Awesome.
that wasn't happy about timing of it, the time of day, and that was it. Like, I have people in Europe that are going to be on at 2 in the morning their time.
Oh my gosh.
Just
That's
and
amazing.
it's the synchronicities, right? You can't argue with the universe.
Yes.
So
Well, beautiful. Thank you so much, Michael, for being here and sharing your story and your words of wisdom and your breakthroughs.
thank you, and I thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.